Oh, hello. So, welcome to Event Delegation. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to reduce repetition using, wait for it, Event Delegation. So, let's start with definition. What is Event Delegation? Think to yourself for a sec. This whole Event Delegation. All right, anybody know? Jeremiah.
It's when you, instead of having multiple event listeners, you have one larger event listener and delegate the different events.
It's exactly what it is. So think of that word, delegation, delegate. If 10 of you want to tell me this school is a piece of shit, you select a delegate to tell me instead of all telling me individually yourselves. It's delegation. So in practice, you tend to see that with list items. So if I have a bunch of LIs over here, and they all exist in a UL, I can put event listeners on every single LI. This is probably how you've been solving this problem so far. The problem is these things are dynamic. You can add more LIs. When we add the LI, we also have to attach an event listener to it. It's not the only problem. Anybody think about another scaling issue? What if I have 100, 1,000, 10,000 LIs in here?
Bleed out of the UL element, or like the box you created?
Nope, not necessarily. It's a scaling and performance problem.
You just have to store all of these separate event listeners.
Yep. Event listeners aren't free. They're cheap, but they're not free. And so if I have 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000 list items, then I also have that many event listeners. Gross. So the way that we solve that is by taking them out of the LIs, we put them on the UL. So we have one event listener for any of them. Conceptually, that's all event delegation is. That instead of saying event listener, no, event listener, yeah. All right, questions so far?
But if we put the event listener on the UL, will clicking any one of those do the same thing?
Ooh, good question. So we need to put some logic in this to tell which one was clicked and then take the appropriate action on just that one. That has some steps to it, but it's not impossible. Other questions so far? Cool. Let's actually zoom out again and talk more about what events are. So I have this big box, and it's the DOM. And so that starts with my root element, the document, and that has head and body, and then body has header and main, and main has an H1 which has a text node, and main has a UL in it that has all these LIs. When you cause an event to fire on one of these, there's 3 steps to this. I click on an LI. The thing that actually happens is starting here, we go down through the DOM to get to that thing that you clicked on. This is called the capture phase. This is mostly a theoretical curiosity for us at this point. There's nothing we need to do with capturing. But just know that you can actually intercept an event on the way down also. So capture happens. Then second step, the actual event fires on the innermost element. And then last step, let's go with orange. It goes back up that same hierarchy. Any guesses what this is called? Bubbling. So capture phase, event phase, bubbling phase. Bubbling does matter to us a lot. Because you clicked on this LI, but this LI is in a UL, which is in a main, which is in the body, which is part of the document. So you also clicked on all of those things also. So even though this is the innermost thing, this is the most narrow thing that you could define the event on, it also happened on all of these. And so we get a chance to handle that click at each of those also. Questions?
So what prevent default does, it just stops it from bubbling up?
Not entirely. There's a similar thing. Prevent default is if there's an assigned behavior for some event that your browser has, you're killing that. So for example, submitting a form, the browser takes form submissions and goes, cool, well, I'm going to refresh the page. If it's a GET request, I'm going to append the parameters of that form to query string. What browsers are all programmed to do. So we're preventing the default behavior. There is a similar concept for bubbling, and it's called stop propagation. So if we go, okay, there is a click handler on the body, and I don't want it to get there. So you can kneecap this thing right here by putting an event listener somewhere in here and calling event.stopPropagation. Great question. I can't believe I remember that. I've used stop propagation in like 3 years. Cool, what else? I'll also say, if you do have need to stop propagation, good fucking luck spelling it correctly the first time. There you go. Other questions about capturing, bubbling, anything like that?
So when is the JavaScript actually going to fire? When it bubbles all the way back up?
Nope. So this is the life cycle of the event. We can put listeners anywhere. So I can put a listener here, I can put one here, I can put one here, I can put one here. But the element is going to own the listener, and as this event travels through the DOM, we get all these chances to kind of intercept it and do something.
Okay. So if you just add a standard event listener,
what did you add it to? So if we put it on the LI, it happens in the event phase here,
Okay.
because that's when the event gets there. So the event starts its capture journey. Oh shoot, there's an event listener here. Better do something. And so then it'll fire off the function that you have attached to that event listener. If it gets down there, there's no event listener. Cool. The event continues its journey, and then, oh snap, I ran into an event listener on the body, and so it fires that function.
If you have two event listeners
Mhm.
in different parts of the chain,
Mhm.
is it the lower one that takes precedent or the higher one?
It has to do with what order this stream hits it at. So if you have one on the UL and the main, it's going to do the UL and then the main, if you're getting it in the bubbling phase. If you have this one set to be in the capturing phase and this one in the bubbling phase, then that one's going to fire first and then the other one. And like I said, don't sweat capture too much. I would say that's one of the things that like less than 1% of JavaScript developers even know it exists. And there's very few use cases for it. Mostly we deal with bubbling. Cool, what else? All right, so we've delegated an event handler. Instead of putting on all these LIs, we're going to put it on the UL. Now, Kat had a good point. Every one of those is going to send almost identical events to it. So what kinds of things might we do to figure out what got clicked on and what data we might pull out of it? Let's say delete. We're trying to delete the thing that's being listed there. We have the event listener in the UL. I want you to think to yourself for a sec. What do we have at our disposal to figure out what actually got clicked? I'm going to call on someone. Luke, give me an idea.
Sorry, what was your question?
My question was, what do we have? We're looking at that. We've delegated the event listener. I click on this one, I click on this one, I click on this one. What things can I do to figure out what I clicked on? Give me an idea.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay. So I clicked on this. The event listener is here though. And I'd also get one if I clicked here or here or here. How do I know up here which one got clicked?
Some sort of target, something.
Okay, you're in the ballpark. So we can look at the event.target, and that's going to be the like precise thing that got clicked. That's our event. That's why it's called a target. Because we can hit the event all kinds of different places, but this part here at the bottom of the capture phase, this event phase, that was the target of it. Okay? So if I have that event.target, what other things are on there that might help me discern what got clicked on?
I guess you have all the properties of what got clicked now?
Yep.
Like the inner text or something?
Sure, I can look at the text. What else? Yeah, I can look at IDs. I know some of you have gotten hip to data IDs.
City elements, parent elements.
Sure. Surrounding elements. Anything else?
Style.
Yeah, you could read the style.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't do that, but
No.
you could.
Could you do it like if you wanted to just change into like a
Yes, that would be a thing that you would handle in the whatever transformation you're trying to do. We're still trying to detect what actually got clicked. How about the tag name? That helps, because I might have a few different things in that list. Like each of those list items is has some complexity to it. I need to know that the right part of it was clicked. Okay? All right, so I can figure out what got clicked and then do something with it. All right, let's get concrete. Let's get real. All right, let's get out of FP land. All right, so I'm going to make an index.html. I'm going to make an app.js. Go over to that index.html. We should be fast at this point. Stub out an HTML file. Give it a char set. Give it a title. Delegation. I don't know what that is, but I don't like it. And just because Patrick likes it so much, here it comes. Oh, what the fuck? It is a Vim thing. It's a dope Vim thing. All right, there's my HTML page. And if I serve it up, actually let's put the app.js in here also. Neato. Sweet. And over here, everything's wired up. So let's start by trying to throw event listeners on everything in here. So if I wanted to do individual event listeners on each of those LIs, what would I do?
Use query selector all
Query selector all and loop through them. I like it. So maybe I get those LIs, document dot query selector all, and I do LIs dot for each, and for every LI I add event listener click, and I'm console log I got clicked and give it event.target.text content. Boom. Boom. All right.
Yeah, baby.
So individually wired up, but I had to add the 4 event listeners, and if I add any new LIs to this, I have to also attach the event listener. Stupid. Just disgusting. Disgusts me. So, if I want to event delegate this, let's grab the UL. Query selector UL, and then add one event listener. And so now I should get both of them. Yep.
Oh dear.
Because I'm clicking on both, right? If I'm clicking on the LI, I'm also clicking on the UL because it's inside of it. All right. Now we want to get a little bit more specific. So
Same thing as the above, just without the I got clicked.
let's try it.
Nice.
Oh goodness.
That helps. So now let's make it a little bit more interesting. Now, instead of just having these in it, each one of these has a card. This is one of our classrooms. Maybe you should talk a little quieter. All right, so now I have these. Oh, sweet, still works. Ooh, but now it's getting kind of weird if I click on some. Oh, wait a minute.
Whoa.
Huh?
Huh.
Why is that happening? What?
Oh shit. Is it clicking everything before it as well? Is that why?
Nope. I can still just get one.
Wait, what?
So what are you doing up there? What's some funky business?
So if you're clicking on the list element itself, it's going to do that correctly. But if you're going outside of that and hitting the div, it's going to do something different.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Let's make this a little more obvious. If you weren't following along with that. I'm going to say that LIs have a background color of green. ULs have a background color of blue. Div has a background color of red. H2 has a background color of purple. Cool. So I can click in there, but I can also click there. Uh-oh.
So you can tell it.
I can also do things like I start putting some padding in here. So that's going to make up my various event.targets. So I can end up with that, I can end up with that, or I can end up with that.
Dang.
So you just need to get more specific with your listener.
Yeah. So what do I do to get more specific with my event listener? Okay. What would I do with switch case?
So the way I have it in my app is I set a switch, and then in the parentheses, event.target.text content is what I used in my case. But you,
Okay.
So you include anywhere else that doesn't do it?
yeah, so then I had
Okay, so if I switch off of that, then I end up with stuff like case 1,
yeah, you can do something.
and then console.log. It was a 1.
And then you can just like not do anything if it doesn't match one of those cases.
Yep. Okay, so nice. And yeah, nothing's happening over here. Still getting this a little bit,
Yeah, that's weird.
but I don't like this. Why don't I like it?
If you add more, it's gonna be clustered.
Every single time I add an LI, I have to add a new case for it. Oh.
Just see if the tag name is H2.
Hey, checking the tag name. I like the way you think, Ethan. Turn 21, brain starts growing.
Until that free-flowing alcohol.
Yeah, it's made you smarter. So what if I say the element being clicked was, and then I do event.target.tag name div h2 ul. Ah, interesting. Very interesting. So I could say, I only want this to fire if the thing being clicked, let's move that padding over to the LI, maybe. Yeah. We could also put some on the div just to make these enormous. So think about the user experience on this, and don't beat me up too much about having red and green right next to each other. It's maybe like the worst sin you can make in interface design. So I want it so that if I click on any of the list items, they, let's say, delete. One of the things I see people do wrong is they'll look for the H2. And so imagine none of these colors are here, and I click on that and it works. And then I click right here, or I tap right there with my finger. It's like, why the fuck isn't this work? Oh, I gotta be right on it. That's probably not good. The thing I probably want to listen for is the LI. Anywhere in here, that's what we're gonna say is fair game. So we want if event.target.tagname equals li, then we want to do something. Otherwise, who cares? We can say it's a list item. And so now I can click there. Oops. Oop, that was the only one that did it. Shoot. Fuck, there's a way around that. And it is crumb. Shoot, maybe it does have to be. Maybe I can move the Z index up. I'm thinking real time. What else could I do? The target of the event. I want to add it to, shoot, losing my mind. End of the day, be nice to me. So I'm going to say Let's make that the H2 for right now. All right, so now I get that. Get rid of the other one.
I was gonna say, like, most cases you wouldn't have, well, I guess. It just feels like a rare problem to have, that you would have like such a delicate like click difference, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's super common.
Okay.
What are you trying to do, Kyle?
Trying to make it so if I click anywhere in there.
In the LI.
Yeah. I think I added some contrived shit in here that I wouldn't normally do.
ELI is just that dot, so I think you can type it in.
So I think if I don't give, yeah, that's it. So if I do that, which is what I would actually do, I'd probably target div. Okay, that works. That still doesn't. All right, for right now, we're gonna say, this isn't quite it either. This is what I get for trying to think on my feet. All right, that works, Cool. All right, so we've detected that the right thing was clicked. Now, we still need to know which one got clicked. So we can say something like event.target.text content. That gives us some idea. Cool. But what if these are Pokemon? I'm trying to delete the ones that don't match, or the one, whatever one got clicked. What might I look for?
Can you just remove the event.target from the DOM?
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. So we could say event.target, and then how do I remove something from the DOM?
Isn't it just
Style display function.
What was that, Ethan?
Style display none.
That didn't take it out of the DOM though. That just makes it not visible.
I was doing the parent element dot remove child and then the
Cool. Let's try it. Dot event.target dot what?
you can do parent element, or you can just hard code in the UL there.
Suppose I could.
Dot remove child and then event.target.
Let's try it.
Oh no.
Okay. Had some issues with that though.
You got the little dots still there, the LS or say.
Indeed. Because I actually wanted to get rid of the LI, didn't I?
Yeah.
Any other ideas of how we could do that?
Go further up.
Okay, yeah, we can keep climbing up. Also, how about on these LIs, we can give them IDs. So if these are the Pokemon IDs, for example, cool. Now what I can do is try to target those. So maybe I do something like, instead of targeting it that way, I try to get the ID. And so let's see. I could do that by also putting the ID maybe on these. That's not unheard of. So that for that 3, I do event.target.dataset.id, and then oops, didn't like that. Let's see what that is. Not have it? Oh, I gotta save it. There we go. So, cool. Now I have that ID. Now that I have that ID, what else might I do?
Remove parent element.
But I got this whole hierarchy here. If I do that one, it's going to remove the div. If I do this one, it'll remove the li. Other ideas?
You're trying to remove the li?
Mm-hmm.
Like bind the li with.
Yeah. So I could say the li is document.querySelector. And now I can do a thing that I could never do with get elements by tag name or get elements by class name or something like that. I can say something like, I want the li with data ID equals ID.
That's sick.
It's query, any legal CSS query selector. So, oops, didn't match. Oh, it's because it only has it on that one. Why is that is totally a valid selector? Maybe I have to wrap it in quotes. Yeah, there it is. Cool. So now I could do something like I already have UL. UL remove child li.
Yeah.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.
Bye, Felicia. Oops.
You haven't set that one.
Oh, because I didn't do it on this. Cool. Bye, Felicia.
There's an irate click is on, yeah, anywhere in there. And you would just like make sure that in your event or your card, however you build the
Mhm.
card, you just put those so you don't have to hard code.
Exactly.
Cool.
Pretty dope.
And how's that like for mobile?
Mhm.
That's totally fitting with mobile as well.
Let's see. Let's try it on
Kindle Fire.
iPhone 6.
Oh my god.
No way.
This is sick.
What?
It's real.
Blowing their minds.
I haven't
Guys
got
never
onto
use
it.
their dev tools, huh?
Yeah. You should really learn how these things work. They're pretty cool. Pow! Pow!
Oh,
Pow!
Oh my gosh.
and you go like
That step brother?
on the list element itself too, right? Yeah, that'll work, right?
So yeah, if I do something over here, nothing's going to happen because That's the UL. It's not part of the LI. So I get rid of that. Saying, all right, ULs, let's do padding left 0. Cool. Now they're not there anymore. Bye. Cool. And we did that all with just one event listener.
How do you get it to do, because it'd be sick if you could just do the LI. If you could just listen to whether or not the LI is correct. Then you would have to have.
But there's not a way to do that without having 100 event listeners. You can't listen to clicks on LIs. Closest you're going to get is something like that. Let's take a peek at event.target. There's a lot of things on event.target that are pretty cool. So, is there parent nodes? This parent node doesn't have the whole tree.
Very good.
Yeah.
Open up parent node, it should have everything on it, right?
Does it take 40?
Yeah, you can go through parent node.
Oh, you mean,
So yeah, you could iterate through parent nodes to see if something is in its hierarchy. That'd work. Probably be a good thing to like extract out into a function. So you do like you do some recursion. The word of the day is recursion, where you're checking to see that. Actually, shit. Where are we at on time? 5 minutes. All right. Let's try it. So, maybe we say if element dot tag name equals li, return true, and then we could say if parent node element dot parent node then has li in ancestry element dot parent node. That's what it's called, right? Parent node. Yeah. Cool. So if it has a parent node, call this function and pass that in.
yeah, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, I do. Else return false. That means it's at the top of the hierarchy and didn't find it. And so if I say has li in ancestry event dot target. So undefined. That's not what I'm expecting. Oops. 'Cause I need to return it. True. There you go. And I'll bet I can get away with not having this conditional anymore. And just saying, well, just changing it to if has li in ancestry event.target. So, yeah, there you go.
Let's make it ampersand, double ampersand. If double ampersand. Could you make it next thing, but if it's false, it will just.
In this thing?
Could you do it in the event listener, or is it you couldn't because there's multiple?
I wouldn't. So we could put that in here though, if element dot. Well, no, 'cause we still we want to have the different behavior there. But yeah, that'll work. Yeah, we turn off the mobile thing. Pew, pew, pew. And then like has li and ancestry, this could just as easily be like have li with a particular ID or class name or whatever. Nate, what questions have you? Yeah, Jeremiah.
I was asking Ahmed, like, what if you just put one big event listener on the body and then delegate everything? Is that
Whoa, man.
Do people do that, or is that like totally frowned upon?
What if like you made pizza out of everything? You're just eating pizza all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could absolutely do that. And then you'd have to like manage all the different kinds of behavior your app could have in one giant fucking callback. Pass.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, also, at what point is this like preference? Like, if you just have like 2 cards, would you say just do event delegation on the container? Like, this would always be.
If they're dynamic, I was just thinking, if I need to have behavior on like a set of nav links that don't change that often, I have 5 nav links.
Yeah, that's
Probably a toss up.
cool.
I'd probably hard code them. Actually, yeah, I put individual event listeners on them, but I'd use this pattern where you enumerate all the selectors and then you iterate through that list of selectors and attach them all that way. Yeah, I'd probably do something like that. But I probably would use event delegation.
Cool.
Dynamic lists. What else you want to know? God, I'm good at explaining things. Look how little questions they have. Just good at explaining. Really? This is hard shit. Anything else you want to know?
Isn't there always don't you always want to use a different way besides recursion most of the time? Like, don't you want to like use recursion as little as possible?
No, not necessarily.
No?
So recursion and other kinds of iteration, trade-off you're going with is memory versus processing power. The reason like people get a little bit around recursion is, anybody remember from the FP lesson? With web programming in particular?
Stack Overflow.
It's easy to blow the stack. So what does that mean? Blowing the stack.
Too many things at once.
In the CPU, right?
Well, so the stack is our list of instructions we're telling the browser to do,
If you overflow that.
and then your app dies. And so if you could, if it's possible that something might recurse beyond a certain number of times, let's say some arbitrarily large amount, don't want to use recursion for that because there's a pretty decent chance you'll get a stack overflow. Something like this, probably not. Because unless you have an app that might have hundreds or thousands of levels of depth in the DOM hierarchy, where it's trying to like go all the way back up that in this recursive call, I think this is actually probably more elegant than some alternatives. But yeah, you're trading like memory for processing power, basically.
Do mobile browsers like have a substantially smaller stack?
Not really.
Okay.
I actually wonder if it's fixed. Browser stack size.
Mobile browsers, that's another.
Browser JavaScript stack size limit. There you go. Keeps going up.
At Chrome.
So yeah. Yeah, so in Chrome 51, you can have just shy of 42,000 things in the stack.
What counts as a thing?
In Firefox 42, you can have 281,000.
Holy crap!
What?
That's insane.
Still like Chrome now?
That's a good argument.
Mine has a bigger stack than yours.
Remember I was showing you that,
Yeah.
for the matching thing, that was why I was waiting.
Yep.
But I'm wondering, like, does navigation or is it just calculation? Like, is navigation something that goes in the stack, or is
Not browser navigation, but things like that going up through the hierarchy. Then you're saying like, I'd like you to do this. Real quick. Actually, I want you to look up next thing in the hierarchy. Actually, real quick, can you look up the thing above the hierarchy above that? That's adding things to the stack.
Does a loop, does that count as one thing on the stack, or?
Well, in a loop, you're saying, I want to do this thing, and then it does it, thus like taking it off the stack, and then it does another thing.
Another thing. So
Yeah.
it's-
So your stack size isn't increasing in a loop because it's actually executing. But if you think about this recursive call, the challenge is to go, okay, well, it's not that. Okay, cool. So this is true, so I need to do this now. And then you go right back here. So you go, okay, cool. Actually, I need to do this now. Actually, I need to do this now. Actually, real quick, I need to do this now. And then it needs to evaluate all of those things and work down the stack.
And so if element parent node, okay, if element parent node is falsy.
Right.
Like at the top, that's how it gets out of it.
Correct.
So it's either, so there's two cases that you're coding for in this recursion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're at the top, or if you're at your target.
Yes. And so the worst case scenario on this one, I have the function call, which does the function call, which does the function call. So all the way down, kind of an arbitrary length. And if this one returns false, then this returns false, then this returns false, then this returns false, then this returns false. But it had to add all of these instructions to the stack first. Or if like the li was right here, okay, cool, I need to look here, I need to look here. Oh, found it, true, true, true. Or gets all the way down here, doesn't find something, false, 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 false.
Or 41,000 times.
Yes.
That's crazy. Wow.
Pew! Anything else? All right, I need to go talk to WeWork about how to talk to the news, to the press. So don't screw anything up about our IPO. Oh my God, this is being recorded.